All right. Hello, hello, everyone. How is everybody today? Hopefully you are having a wonderful day. If you are in the area that I'm in, we are having crazy storms today, so we're going to do some bright, fun, cheery nails today to kind of make up for the rainstorms here. But let's go ahead. I'll get into it in just a second here. Let me pull my chat up on our channel, and that way I can see what you guys are chatting about. And all right, there we go. We are good to go. So you can see that I've got my press-on set here today. We're going to be working with that. I'm also going to be adding in a really fun back-to-school design. So we're going to use our set of press-ons here. We're actually going to be applying these with our tip and jewel adhesive, but we are going to be adding on some fun stuff. We're also going to be throwing in some of our super cute, you guys, I'm absolutely loving these, some of our fun decals. And yeah, like I said, we're going to be creating a really fun back to school set. I know we're not quite back to school yet, but you guys, it's coming up fast. So want to make sure that you guys are prepared for that back to school and that you are going to be all ready to go for that. So let me just shorten up my nail here. And I'm just grabbing my toenail clippers. You guys, somebody mentioned in one of my live streams, they said I was using the wrong clipper. If you want to use that smaller clipper for your fingernails, that works great. A lot of times with thicker natural nails, I do like to use that toenail clipper, even though it's, technically designed for toenails. But a lot of times too, you guys, if I'm doing a pedicure on those teeny tiny little toenails, I like to use that small fingernail clipper. So there's not really a right or wrong nail to use. And, a clipper, you don't have to use the big one on your toes and have to use the small one on your fingers. You can mix and match. Use whatever works best for you guys. So that's why I like to show you all of the different options, because you can use all of our different tools and our products for so many different things. And that's really what we're going to be doing today. I know that our set of press-ons here, they already have that design on them, but we're going to be adding to it and creating something a little bit more custom so that it's more of our own style. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Got my nails shortened up there. I've got my box of tips here, and you can see I've already started to sort them out. But if you haven't seen our press-on sets yet, you guys, oh my gosh, first of all, you're missing out. But let's see, first day of school, holidays in my area of UK. Oh, holidays, so you're on holiday now. Okay, well, we're getting ready to go back to school here in the US. So wherever you are, hopefully you're gonna enjoy this fun design for back to school. But in the set that I've got, this one is called Twice as Bright. And in your sets of press-ons, you're going to see that you've got kind of that full set right off the top here. You've also got a small little file that you can use, and you've also got a cuticle pusher orange wood stick. But then if you open up that box, you're going to see, if you take that little paper off, you're also going to have another package with the rest of the tips. Now, you guys, I've used my this pack of tips for a few different designs, so I don't have all of the nails in here, but the sets do come with, I believe it's 32 different nails. So there's all kinds of different sizes. I like to lay mine out on, I just have a little ceramic tile that I put a piece of double-sided tape on there. So that way I can go through and I can take that bag and I can pour them out and I can sort them out by size. So this way I'm not scrounging through that bag when I'm trying to put my set on, either on myself or even on my clients. I don't want to have to try to scrounge around through that and sort those out. So I like to just lay those out on my tile here. Again, like I said, I've used some of these, so I don't have all of the sizes here, but I have used some on the rest of the hand, and I've also used them to kind of mix and match with another set in a previous live stream. So if you guys didn't see that, you can definitely go check that out. So again, there's 32 different nails in there. There's the file, there's the cuticle pusher. You also get the little pack of the adhesive tabs. We're not going to be using these today. We're going to be using these tips today as more of a full set. And we're going to be using our tip and jewel adhesive to adhere them. But the set also does come with a little bottle of glue, so you could use those to glue those onto the nails. You can use the adhesive tabs, and with this set in particular, you can use the tip and jewel adhesive. And I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit as to why this set in particular you can use that. So stick around with me. Make sure you get all of that information. But let's go ahead, and I think that was what I needed to tell you about the sets. And you guys, everything that I'm using here today is from Young Nails. It is youngnails.com is our website, so make sure to check that out. We've got this set of tips, and we've got a whole bunch of other sets that we just launched also. So if you're looking for some really fun pre-designed full cover press-on style nails, definitely check out our website. But today we are going to, let me kind of put some things off to the side here. We're going to be creating a set, and I've already got a few nails on here, but to create our last nail of our set, I always like to shorten up that nail. So just like I already did, I shortened up that nail, and then we're going to give this just a quick shape. Now you don't have to spend a ton of time shaping those nails, but I do like to clip them a little bit shorter so that that natural nail doesn't really interfere with my application of that tip. You guys, tips, I always say tips are kind of a one size fits most kind of a service, but because we do have all of these different sizes, they are going to fit. We're going to be able to find a tip that is going to fit, but shortening up that free edge is going to keep that extra nail from interfering, and we're going to have a really great bond by shortening up that free edge. Okay, now we're going to go through and we are going to prep our nail, and we're going to start by pushing back the cuticles. Now you guys, in the kit it does have that little orange wood stick cuticle pusher, so you could definitely use that. But if you are working in salon, so if you're, if you guys are doing these and putting these on yourself, you could use that little little cuticle pusher there. Or if you are in salon, I would definitely recommend using our magic wand. This is something that is sanitizable and disinfectable, so you can go through, push back those cuticles, get those cleaned up really well, and then you can sanitize and disinfect that tool. So just depends on whether you're working in salon or whether you're working on yourself. You can use, we've got different tools and different products for you guys. So lots of options just depending on how you work. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the shine from the nail. And I'm going to be using my electric file here. And I'm going to switch out my sanding band. I always want to make sure that I'm using a brand new, clean sanding band, one that's not worn down. And we're going to grab that. So again, even if I'm working just on myself, I always change out that sanding band so that I have the proper grit. As you work with your sanding bands, and the same thing with your hand files, as you work with those, you can see I've been using this one on my trainer hand here. You can see that the file wears down and it loses a little bit of its grit as you're using it. Same thing with those sanding bands. As you're using those, they do start to wear down. So you want to make sure, that's why I always replace my sanding bands, even if it's just on myself. I'm not super concerned about sanitary. Well, yes, I am still concerned about sanitary, but I am concerned also about using that proper grit. Now, if you are working on a client, absolutely change that out. You cannot sanitize and disinfect these bits, so that does have to be changed out for your clients. Okay. All right, we're going to turn our electric file on here to about 5,000 RPMs. I'm going to use that bit and I'm going to just make contact. I'm not using any pressure. I'm not pushing the bit onto the nail. I'm just making contact and working in short strokes right around that cuticle area. And then I'm going to feather my bit all the way through. And the purpose of this is to basically break up the surface oils that are on the nail. You can see now we have a little bit of texture to the nail. That's another thing that we want to create here. We want to create that texture. We want to break up those surface oils and just give that nail a little bit of, like I said, a little bit of texture for our product to adhere to. Now, once we have that texture, we're going to dust the nail off. Get as much of that dust off of there as we can, even cleaning out underneath there. Looks like I've got a little bit of an edge here that I want to just shape that up real quick. Get that little frayed edge off of there. Same thing over here. Okay, so get that nail clean as clean as possible, but just using a dry brush at this point. Okay, that's going to help to get rid of any of that extra dust. Then we're going to grab our swipe, and swipe is our cleanser. Now you can have two options here. You can either grab one of the lint-free wipes and you can pump that onto the lint-free wipe, and you can come in and you can scrub that nail just like that. Personally, what I like to do instead is I like to grab my manicure brush and I'll pump a little bit of that swipe onto my manicure brush, and then I'll come in and I'll scrub that nail nice and clean. Couple of reasons that I like to use the manicure brush is, first and foremost, I'm not going to get that swipe on my hands. Because if you're using those lint-free wipes and you're cleansing that nail, you're going to get a little bit of that swipe on your skin. It's a safe product. It's not really you're not having to worry too much about contact dermatitis and things like that, because you can see it evaporates very quickly. But you can also see that in that evaporation, it is going to remove some of the moisture from my skin. So I want to make sure that I'm not over drying my own skin. So that's one of the reasons that I like to use the manicure brush, and I can just scrub that nail nice and clean that way. Also, my manicure brush is sanitizable and disinfectable, so I can sanitize, disinfect that, and then reuse that. And just going to save me a little bit of money. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our protein bond. Oh, you guys, wait a second. I forgot. We're using tips today. I want to do my sizing before I actually go into my protein bond. So hold that thought. We'll get back to our protein bond in just a second. And somebody's asking in the chat, why are my press-ons getting so many air bubbles? Stick with us here. I can't read the name on that, but stick with us here. I'm going to show you some techniques on how to apply these full cover tips and the press-on nails so that you don't get any air bubbles in there. So stick with us here. And you guys, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and join our community so that you can continue to get all the free education. Okay? All right, so we've got our nails here. And again, we've got those ones that are already sorted out. I've got the rest of the pack from the box. So I'm going to size out my tip. And just right offhand, I feel like, I'm not sure. Let's see. I think that one might be a good size, but let's take a look here. Whoops. So I was just kind of holding that up and just kind of eyeballing the size. Now this one, I actually feel like it might be a little bit on the small side, but let me show you what I'm looking at. So when you're sizing out your full cover tips, you want to make sure that that tip is just going to sit right down flush on that nail. You're not going to have to really press and force that tip down. You don't want to have to use a lot of pressure to adhere that tip, because if you do, what's going to happen, let me show you from this view. When you put that tip on, you want to make sure the C curve here, this curve here, is going to fit the C curve of your nail here. Because if it doesn't, if it's maybe too small and you have to press that tip on there to flatten that out to get that to fit the C curve of your natural nail, what's going to happen is as soon as you let go, that's going to have a tendency to pop back up like that, and it's going to want to keep its shape. So that person that was experiencing a lot of air bubbles in there, it could be that you're sizing out that tip too small and you're really having to press that tip on, but then when you let go of it, it's kind of it's going back to its original shape, and that could be pulling away from that natural nail. So you want to make sure that you're sizing this out so that it fits flush down onto that natural nail without a lot of pressure. So I think this one, it's looking pretty close to the right size, but I think it might be just a hair on the small side. So I'm going to grab a little bit larger tip instead. Now this one, I feel like this one actually sits a little bit better onto that nail. I don't have to really press that down. I don't have to squish that down onto the nail. But it does look like it's a little bit more squared off in the corners here than it is on my natural nail. So I'm actually going to take, I think this is going to be the size that we're going to work with. So I'm going to set my other nails off to the side here. I'm going to take my file and I'm going to round that out just a little bit. And this is where you guys, even with these press-ons, even with the full cover tips, you can customize them and you can make them look a lot more like they're gonna fit your natural nail a lot more. So go ahead and round that out so that it's going to fit a little bit better into that natural nail, that cuticle area. All right, so that's actually looking just about right. Now, as I was filing that, and you guys, I usually like to show you this because usually I'll grab my 180 file buffer combo when I'm cleaning up around that edge, because my file buffer combo has the file on one side and the buffer on the other. And when you're going through and you're just kind of filing around those edges, if you guys look really close, you can see there's a little bit of that frayed edge that comes up around there. So that's where I like to go from my file on the one side to my buffer, just by flipping that over and just cleaning up those little bit of frayed edges. So this way I can remove those little frays and we're all good to go. And maybe just a little bit more then. Okay, so let me check this one more time. All right, so that's looking good. I don't have to press that down. I don't have to use a ton of pressure to set that down. Everything looks like it is going to fit nice and flush up into that nail. Okay, now let's go back to our protein bond. Actually, I'm set things off to the side. I'm going to dust my nail off. I'm going to even dust out the well of that. We're going to dust off that finger one more time, and I'm going to grab just a little bit more of that swipe to cleanse this nail. As I was doing my filing on the tip here, I may have gotten a little bit of dust and things on that natural nail. So I do want to make sure that that natural nail is completely clean before I adhere my full cover tip. Now, I told you guys we were going to go back to our protein bond. So protein bond is our bonder. And this is what's going to really help to anchor our product onto the nail. Now, I'm going to take a look here. My nail still has a little bit of moisture from that swipe on there. I'm going to give it a few more seconds to dry out. But in the meantime, I'm going to use my protein bond in the well of my tip. Now, today we're going to be using our tip and jewel adhesive to adhere these tips, and a gel, just like I'm using, will not stick to a smooth, shiny surface. So that's why I'm going to add an extra coat of protein bond. This is going to give that well a really tacky surface. And this is how my gel is going to adhere really well to this tip. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on our natural nail. I'm going to set my tip off to the side here. We're going to do the same thing on our natural nail. We're going to apply a coat of our protein bond. And this is going to really just act like an anchor. So it's going to anchor down and it's going to adhere to that natural nail, but then it's going to grab onto that gel and the tip that we're going to apply. Now, when I'm doing any kind of an enhancement, whether it's acrylic, hard gel, or even these full cover applications, I like to do 2 coats of my protein bond just to make sure that I've got great coverage. I'm going to have great adhesion on this nail and everything is going to wear really well. Okay, now I do want to talk to you guys a little bit before I actually put this nail on. So the nails that we're using, I'm going to show you something here real quick. So like I was saying, we're going to be using our Tip and Jewel Adhesive Gel to adhere these, okay? And Wild West Nail Barn, you were asked the exact question that I was going to talk about. They are asking, is it going to cure completely with the nude color tip? Yes, okay? So I want to show you guys something. This style of tip that we're using today, this does have enough sheerness to it so that when you do use our gel to adhere it, the gel will fully cure. Okay, so I'm going to show you something here. Let me bring my camera back out. So what I've got here is just our little touch cure light. So this is just a little curing light that's going to help me to freeze my tips into place. Now, if you take a look with this one, if I hold that light on the other side of it, you can see that that light is actually going to penetrate through that tip, okay? Because of the coloring of this tip, it is a little bit more sheer. So this tip, when we use that light to cure it, that gel underneath will fully cure, okay? Now, let me show you one of our other sets of tips. And you guys, this is an absolutely gorgeous color here. This one is Jade Allure. And I love this color, it's beautiful, but this set of tips, I would not use the gel to adhere them with, okay? This I would stick to either the adhesive tabs or the glue, because with these, if we take these out, I'll show you guys the same thing. If we turn that light on, that light doesn't get all the way, oops, doesn't get all the way through. So it's not going to fully cure that gel underneath. So you have to be careful which tips you're using the glue, or sorry, which tips you're using the adhesive with versus which you should be using the glue, okay? So if your nail, let me show you guys that one more time. If the light gets all the way through that tip, it will cure fully, okay? If the color on the tip is too solid, that light's not going to get through, so that is not going to cure properly, okay? So this one, this more solid color, would have to be adhered with that glue or the adhesive tabs, not a gel, okay? So whoever had that question, that was a great question. I'm really glad that you asked that, because that was exactly where I was going with and exactly what I was going to talk to you guys about. All right, so let me set this set of tips off to the side here, and we can go ahead and adhere our nail. All right, whoops. Sorry guys, dropped the tip here. Hold on a second. Okay. All right, so we've got our nail ready to go. We've got our tip ready to go. We've got our tip and jewel adhesive ready to go. I am going to grab my dual-ended brush and spatula, and I absolutely love this one, because it has a brush on one end, it's got the spatula on the other end, and it's going to be super easy. Now you guys, I saw one other comment in the chat here. It says, can I have tips on how to do a French tip? Yes, you guys, I have some great tips on how to do a French tip. You go to the youngnails.com website and you buy Pretty in French, and you've got a beautiful set of French tips that you can use on your nails. So somebody that was looking for some French tips, we absolutely have those. As long as I'm showing you things, we've got another set of tips that are just a shorter French ombre. So depending on what style you're looking for, you guys, we got you covered. We got some really super fun ones. You guys, and one more that I have just sitting here on my table. I'm absolutely in love with these. So you guys, I just wanted to quick show you guys those. This one is called Rainbow Orbit, but super, super cute, super fun. And so those are just some of our other tips that we have. Okay, let's get back to our nail here. We'll get our tip adhered. Again, we're using our tip and jewel adhesive. I've got that right there. And I'm also going to set up that touch cure light. So it's got a little, whoops, sorry guys. It's got a little stand here. I like to use that touch cure light to freeze my nails into place. So I'm just gonna have that ready to go here. And I will show you that in just a second as well. Okay, so we're gonna take that tip. Let me come in nice and close so you guys can see. And I'm going to use that tip and jewel adhesive. I'm going to use that spatula end of my brush. I'll scoop out a small amount because I don't need to overdo this. So take a little scoop there. I'm going to set that right in the well. So you guys, and actually you can see that the line from the design on the other side, that's going to be kind of my guideline. So you can use that as your guideline. I'm going to set that adhesive right there in front of, or I guess behind that line, press my spatula down and bring that product all the way back towards the cuticle. I'm going to use the edge of my spatula, bring it almost all the way to the edges. And I'm not sure if you guys can see this on camera or not, but I leave just a tiny little bit of a gap right through here so that my product isn't coming all the way to the edge, because when I set this onto the nail, I want to leave a little space for that product to kind of just, I don't want to say ooze, but it's going to spread, okay? So it's going to spread from the center out towards those sides. So that's why we leave a little bit of space so it's got room to move and it's not going to squeeze out those edges, okay? Now I think I'm going to add, I've got a little bit more of that gel on the back of my spatula. I'm just going to scrape that right off there just to make sure I have enough. And that person that was asking earlier about why they're getting air bubbles in there, another reason you may be getting air bubbles is it's possible that you're not using enough of your adhesive. So that could be another challenge that you might be having, okay? I am also going to switch over. You guys, I showed you that I've got that dual-ended tool. I'm going to use that brush end to just make sure that none of that gel, none of that adhesive gel is squeezing out that back end. Okay, now let's turn this around here. So when we're putting this tip on, another reason that you may be getting air pockets or bubbles under there is if you just take that tip and you try to squish that flat down onto the nail, that doesn't allow any of that air to release underneath. So what we want to do instead is we're actually going to start with that tip at a slight downward angle. We're going to touch it onto the nail, and then we're going to start to rock that down onto the nail. Okay, what that's going to do, that's going to help to press out any of those air pockets so you won't have those. Now, you guys, when you're working with the color or with the tips that are pre-designed here, you can see a little bit of that adhesive behind there. I want you guys to watch really close, and I'm not sure if you're going to actually be able to see it on camera, but you'll start to see that gel adhere to the nail and adhere to the tip. So it's just going to start to squeeze out those air pockets underneath, okay? So again, I'm going to start at a slight downward angle. Now notice I'm not right at the cuticle. I start a little ways away. So I'm going to set that down, and then I'll just slide that back towards the cuticle. So again, I'm being careful to not allow any of that product to squeeze out that back end. Okay, so again, we're going to set that down, slide back towards the cuticle, and then I'm gently going to rock this down, and I'm actually watching that product adhere. Again, I don't know that you guys can see that on camera, but it's very slight, but you can see that from the naked eye here. Okay, so we're going to set that down. I'm going to make sure that my whole nail is adhered, make sure everything is nice and straight. Then I'm going to turn on that touch cure light, and actually I've got a little bit of that gel squeezing out the back end. I wanted to clean that off real quick. So I'm just using my touch cure light here. Whoops. Ah, you guys, hold on. I shifted, hold on. All right, you guys, don't panic. If that happens, what happened is that my gel started to cure back here, but it wasn't fully cured right in that center area, and I moved the tip. So if that happens, don't panic. I'm going to show you how to fix it. Just going to grab a little bit more of that adhesive. A little bit more of that. Get that back into the well. I think maybe just a tiny little bit more. All right, I think we're good there, and we'll do that one more time. So you guys, don't panic, okay? If things like this happen, just know how to fix them. And I think a little bit of that gel is cured in the back, but we'll take care of that in just a second, so no worries. So again, we'll set that tip on there, rock that down. I'm just going to hold that right there in place. Hit that with my touch cure light. Now I have to hold it, so I have to be patient. So you guys know it wasn't ruined. It's just sometimes these kind of things happen. So you just have to be patient, and I really just needed to show that you need to cure it just for a little bit longer with that touch cure light before letting go. Okay, so you guys, these kind of things happen. They happen in real life. Yes, it has been saved. So it's just knowing how to fix those challenges if they do happen. And sometimes I'm glad that they do happen on camera, because you guys, that way you get to see exactly how to fix it so that you're not struggling doing either your own nails or working on a client. But now at this point, I'm going to put that back into the light. So when we were working with the touch cure light, this was just freezing this product into place. Now, if I were doing a full set, I could do one nail, freeze that into place. Do the second nail, freeze that into place. Do all 5 nails, freeze those into place, and then get that whole hand into the light. And now we're going to fully cure that gel for 60 seconds. And that's going to completely cure that product all the way through so that we're not going to have any issues with that tip popping off like we just saw. So make sure that you do get that hand all the way into the light to fully cure that, okay? Now, you guys, I know I showed you that our set is going to look really cute with all of these different designs on there, but we're going to add a little bit of fun to our nail because school is going to be starting soon, and we're going to create a really super cute back to school design. And I'm going to use some of our decals here. Nail is ready to go, but I think today I'm going to use our Pixel Party decals, but you guys, we've got the Pixel Party, we've got the Fluffy Daydreams, we've got Graffiti Pop. I actually really like the Graffiti Pop. I think those might be my favorite, but we're going to save those for another day. And then we've also got Glitch Mode, so super cute little decals that we're going to use today as well. Now, our nail is cured. You can see, let me come in nice and close. You can see that's fully cured out there. Now, I am going to clean up right around that cuticle area. And you guys, I do want to show you something. So on this tip that we put on, it does have that design on there, okay? You could leave this completely as a set and just leave that design how you like it, how you want it like that. But I'm actually going to put a design over this. So we're going to just go through, and if you even file that off, it's okay with this design. But just know that you have options. So I know the whole purpose of these tips is so that you don't have to do any actual designing, but for this set, I do want to create a little bit of a design. So I'm actually going to go through, I'm going to take off that little bit of a ledge that we have right back there. And again, you guys, you don't always have to do this, but I'm going to just take my e-file and just gently take down that edge of that little bit of product that we had in the back that just kind of squeezed out. And now if you need to do this, you can do this without actually taking off the rest of the design. You can use the e-file right up around the edge, and then you could go through and just re-top coat this. It's not a big deal. But for today's design, I am going to remove the actual design that's on here. And I'm just going to go through with my e-file and just gently feather right through there. And the reason that I'm removing this design, you guys, is because I am going to be creating a different design to go with the rest of the set, okay? So somebody's asking, what if that slip happens with the glue? So if you're just using the air dry glue and it slips like that, you should be able to just reapply more glue and re-adhere, okay? So not a big deal. The glue generally doesn't set until you actually put some pressure on, so that you should be okay, okay? So you should be okay. I can't read the name on that. But if the tip does slip there with the glue, you should still be able to reapply, okay? All right, and I am gonna go once right around that edge. There's a little bit of that color right around the edge, just cleaning that up. Now, you guys, I'm gonna show you one other thing here just because I have them handy and I wanna show you. If you want to, instead of using one of the pre-designed tips and filing that color off, we also have some really pretty full cover nude pink tips. So you could use one of these, you could shorten that up, and you could kind of reshape it to look, let me grab one of them here. So you could grab one of these and you could shorten that up to make it look like the rest of these nails here. So you wouldn't have to use one of these tips and take the color off. You could save that nail for another time and just add one of these into your set, okay? So you can mix and match the tips. You can use the different colors, you can use different styles and mix and match and create your own sets. But today I wanted to show you how to adhere those, and then now we're going to do our fun design over the top. So I did remove the shine completely from the nail, and I'm going to dust that nail off, and we're going to be applying a gel polish over the top of this. Now when I apply a gel polish, I want to make sure that I have a little bit of texture to the nail, and that is exactly what we have here, and that's part of the reason that I use that electric file to go through, to again create a little bit of texture, okay? Next thing we're going to do is cleanse the nail. Now earlier we were cleansing the natural nails with our swipe. Now swipe has a little bit of acetone to it, and if we use swipe to cleanse on the nail here, that's actually going to, that little bit of acetone is going to smooth out that surface, and we don't want to smooth that out. So what we're going to use instead is our Manicure cleanser. So this is an alcohol-based cleanser rather than an acetone-based cleanser like swipe is. So that alcohol in there is going to clean the nail. It's going to help to get all of those little dust particles off, but it's not going to smooth out that surface. So it's still going to leave that texture on there, okay? All right, you guys, before we get into our design, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can keep getting free education and you can keep having fun with us. All right, so you notice that I grabbed my Protein Bond one more time. Protein Bond works for so many different amazing applications. Wherever you need your product to adhere, pretty much Protein Bond will save you. So I always add 1 coat of Protein Bond here before I do any of my gel polish. It's going to really just help that product adhere really well and stay on there. Okay. All right, so color we're going to start with is Heaven Help Me from our one-step gel polish. And you guys, the one-step gel polish, it really is just that. It is a one-step. You don't need to use an extra base coat with it, and you don't have to apply a top coat. Now, you could apply a top coat, and we are going to apply a top coat today, but we're going to use our one-step gel polish. We're going to polish on a couple of coats of color, and then we'll get into our design. So I like to start by polishing kind of from halfway up the nail, and then I catch my edges and then my free edge to make sure that I've got those edges capped, and then I work back towards that cuticle area. This way I can come down those edges, I can pull my brush all the way through the end of that nail, and I don't end up with a little, kind of a little, I don't want to say, well, maybe a puddle. So I don't end up with a puddle at the end, because a lot of times I used to, you guys, I'm going to show you, I used to polish nails all the way through and then I would cap them at the edge. Did you see how I got that little bit of extra polish on the edge? This way, by brushing halfway through, catching those edges, and then going all the way back through, this is how I'm going to get that really nice smooth application without that product puddling at the end. Okay. Now, this does need to go into the light for a full 60-second cure, but in the meantime, while that is curing, I'm going to show you guys the other colors that we're going to be using. And we're going to be using from our Mission Control Gel Paint, we're going to be using Orbit, which is a super pretty blue. I'm not even going to say a sky blue because it's a brighter than a sky blue, but we've also got Power Up, which is our bright red. So we've got those two colors there. And I am going to grab my tile here. So this is just my little art palette that I'm going to put a little bit of each of these colors onto my palette. Now, could you use these directly from the container? Yes. Sometimes I like to work with them from the container. Sometimes I do like to work with them just off of my palette. So today we're going to work off the palette, and make sure that you do give them a stir. So that way, if they do settle at all, you have that, all of that color incorporated, okay? Okay, our nail is cured out. That first coat is cured out, so I'm gonna add our second coat. And again, at this point, this nail is dry. There is no tacky surface to it. There's no, nothing that you need to cleanse or anything like that. But we're gonna do a second coat here, just to make sure that we've got full coverage of our color, tucking right up to that cuticle area, brushing all the way through, all the way around that cuticle and all the way through. Okay, we'll get this one back into the light one more time. And you guys, I don't know if I mentioned this, but when you're working with the one-step gel polishes, a lot of my other gels and things like that, I will freeze for maybe 30 seconds or so in the light. But when I'm working with those one-step gel polishes, those I make sure to fully cure for 60 seconds all the way through. I feel like they tend to get a much better cure if you cure them fully rather than trying to freeze those, okay? So just that little extra tip today, make sure that you are fully curing those one-step gel polishes rather than just freezing those into place, okay? All right, so we've got our colors out, and I'm also going to grab a couple of different brushes here. So the first brush that I'm going to be using is our Micro Detailer, and this is just our teeny tiny little liner brush. Actually, let me show you guys our liner brush as well. If I could find it. Okay, I can't find my, oh, there it is. All right, So we have a liner brush, and then we also have the micro detailer. So the liner brush, I'm going to line those bristles up. You can see the liner brush has a few more bristles, and it is, let me come up there, and it's a little bit longer. The micro detailer that I'm going to be using here on the left is a much finer brush, and it's a little bit of a shorter bristle. Personal preference, I feel like for our design today, that micro detailer is going to be our best bet. And then I may also use our, you guys, this, I love so many of our, I love all of our new products, but this one in particular, our Polish Perfector Detailer Brush. This is absolutely amazing. So if you need to clean up polish or anything, this one is gorgeous. It is a kind of a chiseled brush, so it's got a little bit of an angle. It's a very narrow brush, or a very thin brush, and this one's going to work great for cleaning up polish around the cuticles, but I also might need to use this for touching up my design. So we're going to grab our nail here again, and you guys, okay, let me know in the chat. I need to know, do they actually write on paper in schools these days, or is everything just all on computers? Because today we're going to be using we're going to be creating our design like that old school lined paper that we used to use. But let me know in the chat here, you guys. Do your kids, if you have kids in school, do they still use the lined paper? Because that's what we're going to create here. All right, so what I'm doing, let me get in better camera for you guys. There we go. So I'm just taking my liner brush, running that through my gel paint, and just kind of rolling my brush. So rolling my brush between my hands, and this is really going to load up that brush. Now, I don't want, you can see how there's little kind of more on certain areas. There's little drips on some of these areas. So I'm going to take that brush, again, run that through. I'm going to just drag out some of that extra paint. So this way I'm going to be able to create a really nice straight line. Now, we're going to be creating lines all the way across this nail, but personally, if I try to do a line all the way across the nail, I would actually have to turn the finger, or I would have to turn my hand here. But I'm going to show you what's easy for me to do straight lines, okay? So instead of trying to come all the way across that nail, I'm just going to start, and I'm going to keep my brush fairly straight up and down. I may angle it just ever so slightly, so let me show you from here. So I may angle it ever so slightly, but for the most part, it's going to be straight up and down, okay? So we're going to take a little bit of that paint. I'm going to start from the left side, pull across, just basically using the point of my brush. I'm not laying the brush down flat. I'm using more of the point of the brush and dragging across, okay? And you're gonna see that I'm not coming all the way across, and that's okay, because for me, this is how I can get those straight lines, and I can get really, I'm not even gonna say a perfect line, because let me tell you, it's not gonna be perfect. You can see I'm starting to get a little shaky. You guys, I didn't even have coffee today, and I'm still a little bit shaky. But I'm just going to pull as straight across as I can. And just coming from the left to the right. Reloading my brush after every line. I may take a little bit out of that. Okay, again, set it down, coming across. Now at this point, you can see my lines didn't go all the way across, but if you guys wanted to create like a ruler, you guys, I don't know if they even use rulers in school these days anymore, but this would be kind of the start to your ruler design, which maybe we'll do that another day. But today we're going to continue with our paper. So now I'm going to pick up a little bit more paint on that brush, and I'm going to start in the center, and then I'm going to continue that line. So just pulling that line all the way across. Continuing that line all the way across. So again, you guys, if you're able to create that line straight across all in one motion, you can definitely do that. But for me, doing half first and then connecting is a lot easier. For me, that works a lot better. And that's how I'm able to create more of those lines. Got one last one here. Now, here's where that Polish Perfector detail brush comes in. If maybe you didn't get your lines quite so straight, you can use, I'm going to grab a little bit of my swipe here, I'm going to pump a little bit of that up into the cup, and I'm going to just dab my brush into that just enough to wet the brush. I don't want it dripping, but if I need to, then I can come back with this polish corrector brush, and let me get you guys in camera. I can come through and I can perfect and I can clean up that line. Even if maybe you had a line that did not look right. Maybe there was a line that was a little bit wavy. You could just take that whole line off and you could start over again. Okay, I'm going to dab a little bit more of that swipe into my brush. And again, if you need to, you can come through and clean up those lines, get everything nice and straight. And I think I'm going to add just a little bit more color to this one because I wiped off a little bit more than what I needed. Okay, I can breathe again, you guys. I can breathe again. A lot of times when I'm doing my design work, I have a hard time actually talking and working at the same time. So it's challenging to teach and, do these designs at the same time. But at this point, I would normally go back into my full UV LED light and I would cure this nail just to make sure that that color is set. Okay, so when we go to do our next color, we're not going to smudge anything. Let's see, somebody's asking what kind of paper are you using to wipe your brushes? All I'm using right here is one of our lint free wipes, and they're super easy to use. Just a lint free wipe. And you guys, actually, I'm going to put this into the light real quick just so I can kind of move that out of the way. But these wipes are great for if you're just cleansing. So say you need to cleanse the nail, cleanse off that color that is already cured on there now. But the lint-free wipes are really nice and easy, and I can just use that and I can just kind of roll my brush over that. That's going to pull any of that extra gel out of there. Also with my that polish perfector brush, I can use that. So say maybe I cleaned something up off the nail, I can use that and I can just clean that off onto that lint-free wipe. Okay, so just nice and quick and nice and easy. All right, so those blue lines are set into place. Let's go ahead and grab a little bit of our red. And again, so our blue was Orbit, our red is Power Up. We're going to do the same kind of thing. I'm going to drag that color through my brush, roll that brush through that paint, and then just kind of drag off. You can see, let me show you really close here. So as you're getting that paint in your brush, do you see how there's a little bead or kind of a little drop right at the end? We don't want that little drop. We want this a little bit more of a smooth brush. We don't want that little drop on the end. So now you can see I pulled that drop off. So that way we're going to be able to get a nice straight line. If I were to have left that drop on there, what's going to happen is if I set that onto the nail, you're going to see I'm going to get a thicker application and then it's going to go thinner. Now by dragging out that little drop, we're going to be able to get a much more precise straight line. Okay, so just a quick little tip there for you. Make sure to drag the drop out. And you guys, as we're talking about things here, of things to do, make sure to hit that subscribe button. All right, you guys, I'm going to go through again, load up my brush here, drag off that little drop. We're going to create a straight line right down the left side here. So now at this point, again, I'm keeping my brush completely straight up and down, and I'm just pulling all the way down the length of the nail. Okay, drag off that drop. We're going to start right at the top, pulling straight down, and I'm going to go nice and slow so I can get this really nice and straight all the way down. I'm going to take just a little bit more of that gel paint, thicken that line up just a little bit right down that edge. So now we've got our little paper look. Again, I'm going to clean out my brush here, and then once that's cured, so that's back into our light for about, as long as it's going to take us to talk here and choose our designs. So like I was showing you guys earlier, whoops, sorry guys, wrong camera. There you got my forehead in there. Okay, there we go. So what we're going to be using today, I think I'm going to use our Pixel Party because I think those are going to be super cute here. But we also have the Fluffy Daydreams, we've got our Graffiti Pop, and we also have Glitch Mode. So a couple of different options for you here for decals, but I think we're going to use these ones today. We're going to use the Pixel Party. And the other thing I'm going to grab is my tweezer. You guys get yourselves a really nice fine tweezer. These are going to really help you when you adhere those decals. So we'll just open this up, and all right, you guys, what do you think? Because I was thinking earlier, I was thinking the rainbows or the stars or the hearts. So you guys let me know in the chat. Should we go with the rainbows or the stars or the hearts? You guys got to decide on this, okay? But it's just kind of a fun little, if you remember, I don't know, maybe they still do this, I don't know, but back when I was in school, we used a lot of stickers on, our teachers put stickers on our papers when they gave them back. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to put little stickers on our paper. We're going to grade this paper. And looks like you guys are saying rainbows. I see a lot of rainbows and I see a lot of hearts. So tell you what, let's start with the rainbows, and then maybe we'll add a heart here and there. So I'm just going to take my tweezers, and I like to just kind of bend that paper back a little bit. This way it's going to let that decal release. I'm just going to lift up that decal, and we will set that right onto our nail. Now our polish or our gels are dry, so we don't have to worry about smudging anything. That's why we got this into the light for the full 60 seconds, okay? So we don't have to worry about smudging or anything like that. We're gonna secure that right down on there. Now you guys, I think the hearts may be a little bit too big, but you know what I think I'm gonna do? Let me grab my scissors. I'm actually going to just use a couple of these little hearts on here. Let's see if this will work. All right, so if we take our hearts, so you could use the whole entire thing, but I'm just gonna snip off right in between there. And maybe we'll take this one right here. So just in case, actually I'm going to use the one right on there. So let's grab our little heart. How about right up top there? We'll stick that, oops, right on there, secure that down. Oh my gosh, you guys, how cute are these? Are we loving them? Throw some hearts in the chat if you're loving them, because I'm loving these. I think they're so cute. Okay, let me grab that other one that we clipped off here. I'm actually going to take that tiny last little bit of black right off the edge there. Okay, and then we'll grab this one. Again, using that tweezer, peel that right off. Oh, you guys, look at how cute that is. All right, you guys, let me see those hearts in the chat. I want to see those because I am absolutely in love with this nail. So cute. Our little stickers on our test paper here today. All right, now the question is, how do we finish this nail? Well, we're going to just top coat it. Now, depending on what you're working with, you could use just our regular air dry top coat. Let me grab that. So you could do a couple of coats of the air dry top coat, and that would work just fine. Otherwise, today I am going to use my, let's see where I can find it here. Oh, you guys, I've lost my top coat. All right, there it is. So I'm going to use my Ultimate Finish top coat today. Now, I know that earlier I said our one-step gel polish doesn't need a top coat, and it doesn't, but we do want to make sure that we are sealing in those decals. And you guys, I don't know, you probably can't even see this from the side, but these decals are so thin, they're so fine that they're stuck down onto that nail, but you still do want to seal them. But you're not going to feel any texture because they are so thin, okay? Now, you guys, one more time, make sure if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. And if you are new to our channel, we're going to start our top coat chant in the chat. So if you're new to the channel, I'm going to tell you, just type in top coat, top coat, top coat into the chat. Those of you guys that have been around with us for a while, you know what to do. So let's go ahead and start our top coat chant in the chat. while I apply a coat of our top coat. And again, this is going to seal in our decals. It's going to seal in our design. And sometimes if I feel like, actually on this one, I feel like there's just a tiny little edge poking up, I'm going to grab that tweezer, really make sure to secure that down. But if you do feel like you have a little bit of texture, I'm going to take just a tiny little bit more of my top coat and just drop that right down around wherever you feel like you may have a little texture. Because I'm using our Ultimate Finish top coat, this is a little bit of a thicker top coat. So just by dropping those little bit of extra daubs of, that's my technical word today, extra daubs of our top coat, it's going to seal those edges right around those little decals that we put on. Now, our Ultimate Finish top coat, that is going to go into the light for a full 60 seconds, but you guys, I'm going to just freeze that into place so that you guys can see the final look and you can see what our cute little back to school design turned out looking like. So again, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, join our community, and now we have our super cute back to school kind of a French look, and then also our little paper and our stickers look on there. So you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and join our community, and hopefully you guys will give this design a try. All of the products, all of the things that I've been using today, those are all on our website at youngnails.com, so make sure to check those out as well. All right, you guys, thank you. Oh, one last question. Does Ultimate Finish have a tacky layer? This one does not. So this one you do not have to cleanse. It is going to dry with a nice dry high shine, just like it is here. I didn't, sorry guys, I didn't cure this all the way through, but when I do cure that all the way through, it will have that high shine look like it does now, but I don't have to cleanse with anything. So nice, quick, easy top coat to use, and it's going to be fast, it's going to be easy, and nothing left to cleanse at the end. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you guys back next time, and hope you have a wonderful day, morning, afternoon, whatever time it is. We'll see you guys later. Thanks, everyone.